Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode number 33 of Coronavirus in the Independent Retailer. I am your host, Bob Nagin. And as always, I'm honored that you're giving me a little of your time today. And as always, I want to congratulate you. You are one day closer to the end of this doggone thing. Nobody knows when the end is, but I do know that we're one day closer. So today we're going to talk about communicating with your customers as you open. Lots and lots of energy, some good, some bad, around reopening. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you communicate correctly with all these different emotions that your customers are feeling? But before I do that, I want to talk about a couple of other things. So yesterday, Whiz Bang Training got our PPP approved, and that is a wonderful, wonderful feeling for me and Susan and everybody here at Whiz Bang Retail Training. But the reason that I shared that is I wanted to bring us back to to that whole AAA mindset: assess, adjust, advance. We had a set of plans in place, and all of a sudden we have an infusion of cash. And we had an assessment. Now there's a new assessment, which leads to adjustments and moving forward. So I hope that you're using that mindset, assess, adjust, advance in your business, because things are changing really, really crazy. Every day things are changing. So the other thing that I wanted to share is something that made me very, very happy this morning. This morning, about an hour ago, I posted on Whiz Bang Retailers. And by the way, if you're not a member of Whiz Bang Retailers, our Facebook group, I'd strongly encourage you to go and join. Great things are happening there. About 2.5 weeks ago, I posted a poll and said, how are you feeling about the future? Where do you think you're going to be a year from now? And the results were a lot less optimistic than today. So today, I just took a quick look, and 45 people said that they thought they were going to be better a year from now than they are today. And then 5% said, they think they're still going to be struggling, try to dig out of a hole. And 3 people, not 5%, 5 people, and 3 people said that they thought that they would be about where they were pre-pandemic. But what I wanted to share in my observation is that we've made it this far as a community, and we're all starting to feel that optimism. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're all starting to bring our gaze to the future, right? So we're one day closer. We're one day closer. Great things are happening, and I'm happy to see it. So, okay, let's get on with today's subject. We talked about this a lot in yesterday's community forum, and this whole idea of the states are lifting, restrictions are lifting, people are being able, you might be able to open your store again, and there is a lot of opinion, isn't there? There are some people that if you choose to open your store and let people in, will just blast you. And I mean, intensely blast you for endangering the health of your community. There are other people who can't wait. They're chomping at the bit to bring their family, their 9 kids, their 3 nephews to come into your toy store and spread their germs everywhere. Right? I mean, so the emotions are all over the board. And today's episode is, how do you deal with this? And as always, all I'm trying to do is to help you think about it. There are no right answers in this situation. There's only perspectives, and having a perspective to lead you, I think, is valuable. So the first thing I want to say is to talk about the difference between an incident and a problem. And I have had this conversation with so many retailers. An incident is something that happens once or occasionally. A problem is something that happens regularly. And as retailers or as entrepreneurs, there is a tendency to react against an incident. So we take an incident and we make it a problem. what I'm sharing here is if one person is blasting you all over social media for opening your store, that does not necessarily represent your entire customer base. So an incident is something that happens once, a problem is something that happens a lot. When you understand the distinction, when you have a problem like being blasted on social media, you say, is this an incident or is it a problem? If it's an incident, you make an adjustment, you come up with a solution, you make a decision about what you're going to do with this incident, do that thing, and then move on, right? It's no longer part of what you're dealing with. Now, if it's a problem, then you have to think about it and solve the problem. And I'll share a conversation I had with a retailer. Person has a couple of stores, high-end women clothing store, and she called and she had been blasted on social media, blasted. And she was very concerned. She was, thinking through her reaction to this one post. And she was calling me to help her think this through. And at the time, I said, this is an incident. Haters gonna hate. Don't make a business decision based on an incident. And she said, oh, that makes sense. This is good. About a week later, her town became a hot spot. And, a true hot spot. And so now it was a problem because now it wasn't one person talking about it on social media. Now it was lots of people talking about it on social media. Now it was people, sharing their displeasure with our clients. So just recognize that there's an incident and there's a problem. If there's an incident, you need to deal with it and move on. If there's a problem, you have to find a real solution or a strategy to deal with the problem. And so, again, don't let one or two people on social media dictate what you do with your opening, dictate how you're going to handle your business. First and foremost, be a good human being. That's the first thing. So when we sort of look at how we communicate about this, the first and foremost thing is to recognize that we need to be good human beings. We do have to practice safe standards. We do have to put the health and wellness of our team and our customers right at the forefront. But having said that, if you're able to do business and you are confident that you can do business safely, I believe you should do business. This is what we do. We're retailers. When we're, when we're quarantined, when there's a, shelter in place order, well, we deal with it then. Assess, adjust, advance. They're letting us do business again. Assess, adjust, advance. Assess. They're letting us do business. Adjust. How are we going to do business? But that doesn't change the fact that you want to open, you're confident that you can open safely, but there's still people screaming at you or blasting you on social media. So let's talk about how we communicate with those people in particular. There's this a term called Sunder that I think is so great, particularly in the middle of a pandemic. And Sunder, here's the definition that I got from the Urban Dictionary. Sunder is the profound feeling of realizing everyone, including strangers passed on the street, has a life as complex as one's own, which they, the stranger, are constantly living, despite one's personal lack of awareness of it. Isn't that great? We don't know what those people are experiencing. Think about what is happening in this pandemic. Think of the suffering that people are experiencing. The point is that we don't know someone's story. And so then rather than reacting against it, we have to be good for it. Rather than amplify and exaggerate, never mind. Rather than amplify it, and make it worse, we need to understand. People are dealing with children at home. People are dealing with, the sickness of loved ones. There's this low, I mean, there's this low and high level anxiety. People are losing their jobs. People are losing their business. You don't know what someone's story is, and you don't know if they're playing their story out on your social media feed. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is sympathy and empathy. Sunder is recognizing that everybody has a story, and sympathy and empathy are the next part of our understanding of how to communicate. So the difference between sympathy and empathy, and I'm looking off screen at my computer and reading something here. Sympathy is a shared feeling, usually of sorrow, pity, or compassion for another person. You show concern for another person when you feel sympathy for them. Empathy is stronger than sympathy. It's the ability to put yourself in the place of another and understand someone else's feelings by identifying with them. So somebody puts on social media that they think that you are being a hazard to the public health by being open. So the first thing I really want to encourage you to recognize is that sympathy first. If you can even get to the place of empathy, if you can even feel deeper about it, that's even better. But we only have so much emotion to give. But when you communicate to someone, be sympathetic. If you can be empathetic, that's great. So if someone is burning you on social media, the thing to do is to communicate, but communicate with empathy, to be empathetic. So the response needs to be yours. It needs to be from your heart. It needs to be heartfelt, but it needs to go something like this. Thank you for your feedback. We always thank people for their feedback. And I'm sorry you feel this way. Here is what we are doing. So tell them how you feel and then tell them what you are doing. So you want to diffuse it. You don't want to get in a pissing match with someone who is who is disagreeing loudly with what you're doing, but you want to respond, and you want to respond respectfully and empathetically. So there's a thank you for saying something. However, thank you for saying something. Sorry you feel this way. This is what we're doing. This is how we feel. We feel absolutely confident that we are, maintaining a safe environment. Our team, the health and safety of our customers and our team members is front and center in all of the things we do. And we are confident. We are very confident that we can be open and do business. But then you give them other solutions, right? We are confident that people can come in our store and do business. However, if you'd like curbside pickup, if you'd like to order over the phone, if you'd like us to deliver, we are happy to do that. So you're telling them that you are keeping them, that you are confident that you can keep everybody safe, and you're giving them options so that they can still shop with you but not have to come into your store.
And it could be the opposite too, that they want to come in, but you want to stay closed.
That's a great point. Susan just made a very interesting point. It could be the opposite, that you want to stay closed, but people want to come into your store. There's been some of that energy going around too. Well, if that's the case, it's the same thing. Thank you for your feedback. Here's what we're doing and why we're doing it. But we're always coming at it from a place of empathy. We're always, a place of, we don't know what's happening with you today. And I'm sorry that you're feeling this way, but here's the deal, but here's what we're doing and why we're doing it, which leads to the final point here, which is communicating. And we talked about this a lot on yesterday's community forum. You should have a safety standards and safety procedure, and it should be written. Remember, if it ain't written, it ain't real. It should be written, and it should be over communicated. So yesterday we used the example of our friends from Colorado Springs, Business Breakthrough Accelerator alumni from Ascent Cycle. And they are deemed an essential business. They have a bike shop in Colorado Springs. The state allowed them 10 people in the store. They only allow 5 people in the store. When people come into the store, they are issued gloves. You can't come in with your own gloves. When you come in the store, Ascent Cycle gives you 2 disposable gloves to put on and a mask if you don't have one. When they shop, when they're done shopping, they also have people a lot of attention, so there's not a lot of wandering around. And when they leave, they throw away the mask, they throw away the gloves, and Ascent Cycle goes and wipes down anything that person touched, even though they're wearing clean gloves. Now, that's what you call a real policy. I said, what are you doing about safety on a phone call? They said, this is what we're doing. That is a policy. That is a procedure. Write it, communicate it. In the bottom of every email, there should be a communication of what you're doing, a link to your website, showing a page saying, this is our safety standards. These are our policies and procedures. This is how we're working to keep you safe. So over communicate it. I think over communicating will nip a lot of these problems in the bud. So, tricky times. I hope that you found this helpful. Lots of times we talk about tactics and things like that, but sometimes it's just about let's think about how to think about. And the most important thing I think I want to share is I believe that if you're watching this, if you're a member of our community, you're a good person who wants to do right. And just let that whole idea of being a good human being, being a responsible member of your community, while doing business at the same time, is your challenge right now. All right, everybody, if you're not following us on Instagram yet, I would sure appreciate it. We're finally getting on the Let's Do Instagram Right bandwagon, and your support would really, really be appreciated. If you know somebody else who might enjoy our Instagram feed, I'd appreciate it if you'd share that also. If you like this one, share it with other people too. So anyway, it's Wednesday. I hope that you have an amazing day today. I hope that you're feeling enthusiastic. I hope that you're feeling confident. I hope that you're feeling positive. And I hope to see you tomorrow.